Okay. First of all, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not do ijtihad, and he doesn't give opinions. He gives you the state of the ruling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because to say it's ijtihad indicates that he doesn't know, and he's trying to find out using his mind. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything, ma yantiqu anil hawa. He doesn't utter a word, in huwa illa wahyu yuha, except it's actually wahy. So the Prophet's saying is not a madhab, it's not an ijtihad, it's the deen, it's a ruling, it's from Allah directly. Wahyun la yutna, they say. Okay? It's a revelation that is not recited as Quran. Okay? It's directly inspired in the sense as truth from Allah. Okay? There's Quran, there's Hadith Qudsi, Hadith Nabawi. Now, the ulama from the Sahaba, not all of them were ulama. All of them were upright, udul, which means they can transmit hadith. But not all of them gave rulings and gave fatwa. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, the Sahaba then taught the next generation. And every generation, every culture, every discipline has a way or a means to signal to the rest of society that this person knows what they're doing. And the way, for example, Abdullah bin Umar, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar, when he became old and he became very busy with ibadah and worship and not so much involved in the discussions of the day anymore. As many people, when they get old, this happens to them. They're not so in tune with what's happening in the world anymore. Okay? He used to go to his student, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, and he used to send students to him. He used to say, go to Sa'id, right? No longer answer questions. He forgets sometimes, as what happens to elders, right? So he used to send people to Sa'id ibn Musayyib. That's a sign and an indicator that he authorizes Sa'id ibn Musayyib. So that's how today we have a degree with a diploma and it's signed off, and it indicates, the signature of the president indicates that 20 or 30 other professors at some point signed off on a different facet of your education. And the university emblem indicates that. Yeah. But back in the day, it was more individualistic. One person would say, even today it's individual. Today, someone who gives a fatwa and is a mujtahid only in new matters. There's no mujtahid, what they call mujtahid mutlaq. You may now be, our discussion may now be, what are the levels of ijtihad? The scholars tell us in the books of usul at the end that the levels of ijtihad are as follows. Mujtahid mutlaq. Mutlaq means absolute. Mujtahid is someone who goes directly to the primary sources and he gives you the answer. That's what a mujtahid mutlaq is. Okay? Directly to the primary source, he gives you an answer. There can be a mujtahid in a certain field. Okay? If you look in the books of qada or judgment in court, there could be someone who only judges on certain matters, like financial matters, marriage and divorce, things like that. So you can have a mujtahid only in those fields. Next level down, you have a mujtahid within the school of thought. So the parameters have been set down by the imam, and within that, using those parameters, he gives rulings. Okay? Using those parameters. Next level down is tarjih, which is he doesn't give his own ruling within the parameters, but he could judge which is the best ruling, most accurate within those. In most of the schools, there's no need for that, and they don't. What the madhabs have today is something called mujtahid fi nazila. Nazila is something that came down, meaning something new that came into our lives that we didn't know about. Okay? Or that the elders and the previous generations never saw before. So in this respect, most muftis today, they're within their madhab. What does a mujtahid in new matters do? He goes back and he finds an analogous case. Okay? And he sees how a mujtahid within the madhab ruled on that case. So we have a long history of fatwa. From the time of the first mujtahid imam all the way till now, how many fatwa has been given? Millions upon millions, hundreds of thousands and millions, right? So they look for something similar to that, okay? And they make analogy of that, and they give the fatwa. So that becomes the ruling on this new matter in the Maliki madhab, okay? Someone once said, the Maliki madhab on Bitcoin, and they laughed and said, are you telling me out of Bitcoin when Malik is when? That's because they imagine that a madhab is only the founder speaking. It's not. The founder lays down the parameters, and then afterwards, okay, many muftis and mujtahids within those parameters give rulings. So a founder of a school of thought, the essence of it is he establishes the methodology, what we call usul. He establishes the methodology. And sometimes he didn't explicitly establish it, but you could tell that that was his methodology. Shafi'i is the one who came and said, actually, methodology is far more important than the actual ruling. That's why he's called the father of usul. Abu Hanifa was called the father of fiqh because he's the first one to say we need to chapterization, okay, of the legal rulings, okay. And then Malik, you could read very clearly in his words what his method was. And then later on, the scholars say that very, very obviously this is his methodology. So they write usul and fiqh according to the Maliki school, usul and fiqh according to the Hanafi school, likewise Shafi'i and Hanbali.